to tonight's coverage of the BTDY Racing League Chase for the BTDY Cup. There's no place like home here at the Kansas Speedway for race 1. Colorado stays bottom, slides up into 1. We cut back at the track and he gets clobbered. Here comes Loveland to the inside. Jeff Wright will come home and he'll win the race and win the playoffs at the Kansas Speedway.
Good evening, race fans, and welcome to the Midwest United States as the drivers of the BTDY FloridaSkinDoctor.com Racing Series head to Iowa Speedway for race number 14 on the season and race number 4 of our 8-race chase for the championship. A bit of an unknown tonight with the newly updated to iRacing Iowa Speedway. So an added wrinkle as our drivers continue their quest for a championship here in the VSPEED 150. We'll be bringing you all the action live right here on VSPEED. Good evening, everyone. My name is Daniel Cunningham. Alongside me in the booth, after taking a little 1-week sabbatical to go play in the gravel trap at Watkins Glen, and also running the production tonight, Lucas Lyons. Camera angles courtesy of the legendary Dougie Beard. Lucas, it's nice to have you back up here in the booth, buddy. Appreciate you, giving us a little bit of something to rib you about there with your run at Watkins Glen. But how you feeling for this race here tonight?
I was doing a lot better until you decided to bring back up Watkins Glen before that competition caution. You of course had to talk about me. Next thing you know, I end up in the gravel trap spinning it around. But looking forward to be back in the booth tonight at a newly repaved track in both of the corners, but nowhere else at Iowa, and it should be a good race here tonight.
Yeah, definitely going to be a bit of an unknown here. I have not turned any laps at this track since they repaved it and did the update here. iRacing just recently putting that update out. I believe it was just about a month ago, maybe not even that long. So something new to keep an eye on here this evening. And if you've watched races at Iowa before here on VSPEED, you'll definitely notice the difference. You'll be able to visually see where that darker pavement is with the extra grip. But as we get ready for this race here this evening, let's take a look at our point standings as we approach the halfway point of that chase for the Cup. Brody Hayes with a pretty decent lead here over Bailey Turner, 25 points over Bailey Turner. Keith Mayato, 27 back. Got Chris Samard, Michael Robinson, your top 5 in points. See Eric Hutton, Jake Mockey, Jeremiah Hobbs, Ryan Phillips, Levi Cox, Noah Mahalski, and Jace Cully, your top 12 championship drivers. And really at this point, there's still a long way to go, but it seems like it's Brody Hayes in pretty good control here with that 25-point lead. Something else that we will keep an eye on as well is that battle for the 13th position, the best of the rest, if you will. See Max Koss there, 5 points over Dennis Faircloth, 15 points over James Loveland, Dallas Sullivan, Cody Atkins, Ray Massey, Alan Dice, and Ryan Gamble there as well in your top 20. But 13th place gets a free paid entry into this series for next season. So something for these drivers to race for.
Yeah, that's definitely for sure. And it's like you said, with that free race entry into next season, gives a reason for those other drivers to still come back and race each and every week. Looks like we were having 20 drivers here tonight, so seems to be working out pretty well for the league.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Lucas, I know that you actually did turn a few laps here earlier today to get acquainted with this track as these drivers get ready to roll off here this evening. So why don't you tell us a little bit about Iowa Speedway?
Yeah, so here we are, Iowa Speedway in Newton, Iowa. Opened September 15th, 2006. Had that repave around 2023, 2024 in both of the corners. Has a lot of extra grip here on iRacing. It's a 0.85 mile track, 14 degrees in the turns and 10 degrees on the front stretch, and it's got 4 corners and it's a D oval. Has a lot of grip in that repaved area, so might not see a bunch of drivers go up high later in the runs, but it should still turn out to be a very good race here tonight.
Yeah, and one interesting thing too with Iowa Speedway, this track actually one of the only ones, maybe even the only one in NASCAR that was built after the advent of the safer barriers. So something neat that that a lot of drivers pointed out when the Cup Series went there the first time last year is that there's no solid concrete wall behind that safer barrier like you see a lot of other places. It's just it's almost like those guardrail pieces you see going down the interstate with the foam in between, and then that steel and energy reducing barrier on the outside. So neat little wrinkle about this track as well. And let's also take a look at our race details here this evening. Going to be 150 laps, competition caution at lap number 20. 40-mile-an-hour pit road speed, 4 sets of tires available to these drivers this evening. 3 green, white checker attempts if we need them. We've seen them come into play a few times here so far this season. Running 80% fuel, anywhere between about 68 to 73 laps on a fuel run here this evening. And, you know, something that we used to see with the repave was that before the repave rather, so a lot of times these drivers would be wanting tires before you ever got to that fuel window. So be interesting to see how that plays out this evening as well, if the tire wear is still a really predominant factor or how that may work out. But for now, these drivers have completed their qualifying runs, and we've got a pole award to hand out here this evening. Starting P1, the man himself, Ryan Gemmel in the number 6. One of our championship contenders there, Brody Hayes, starting outside in P2. Going to make up your front row. Chris Samard starting in 3rd here this evening. Jeremiah Hobbs rolling off in that 4th position. Starting in 5th is going to be Seth Hatchell. Again, great to see him back out on track. The boss man of VSPEED himself, Adam Baker, rolling off in 6th this evening. Starting in 7th, Bailey Turner in the 24. Starting in 8th, the birthday boy, Dennis Faircloth. Happy birthday to him. We're going to be rolling off in that 8th position this evening. Rounding out your top 10 is going to be Ryan Phillips in the 9th position and Cody Atkins in 10th.
Yeah, starting right outside the top 10 and 11th, you have Jake Mockey in the 13 and Eric Hutton in the 88 starting 12th. Both chase drivers, so we'll have to see how they drive up through the field here tonight. Starting 13th, the 29 of Michael Robinson and the number 2 of Michael Jones, starting 14th. Starting 15th, you have the 63 of Max Koss and the 080 of Rob Liedl, starting 16th. And 17th, you have the 5 of Alan Dice and the 25 of Paul Hahn, starting 18th. 19th, you have Todd Giles Jr. and rounding out our field, the 30 of Adrian Loya, starting 20th.
And that is going to be your starting lineup here tonight for the VSPEED 150. Drivers are on the grid, getting ready to roll off and start their pace laps here this evening with that front row of Ryan Gemmel and Brody Hayes. So, Lucas, while we get ready for these drivers to run their 2 pace laps, I got to ask, who's your driver that you want to keep an eye on here this evening that you think may be the one to watch?
As of right now, I'm looking at the 24 of Bailey Turner to keep an eye on, and it looks like we might not even get those 2 pace laps as the pace lights are out on the truck.
Well, that would certainly be a new wrinkle. Typically here at the short tracks, they do give 2 pace laps, but actually, yeah, it looks like they are actually doing another pace lap here. So
color me wrong, Daniel.
Well, everybody's entitled to be wrong every now and then. So while they come back around, this should be the one to green. But the driver that I kind of want to keep an eye on this evening is going to be that 5 car of Alan Dice. He's somebody did not take a lap time in qualifying, starting back in the 17th position. Not one of our chase drivers, but before the repave, I know this was a track that he really seemed to enjoy. It seemed to be a track that kind of fit his driving style. So curious to see if that 5 car can make its way up to the front, have a good finish here this evening. As we see they're still pacing down the back straightaway, but the lights are off on that iRacing pace truck. We're getting ready to fire this race off for 150 laps out here in corn country, out in Newton, Iowa. Pace truck going to be making that left-hand turn onto pit road. Barney with the green flag in hand. Green flag is in fact in the air. We are underway here in Iowa for the VSPEED 150. As you can see, as the drivers work their way through turns 1 and 2, pretty even there on the first set of turns. Brody Hayes, though, on that top lane, trying to make the pass here on Ryan Gemmel. And actually, Lucas, I am showing that Brody Hayes, the race leader and championship leader, with a black flag at the moment. And coming to that initial green, it looked like he had actually jumped ahead of the 6 of Ryan Gemmel. And here he comes down pit road to serve a penalty. So big championship implications here early on for Brody Hayes. Most likely a restart violation for jumping ahead of the race leader in that restart zone. He is still going to have that competition caution to get caught back up here at lap number 20, but he's not going to have to wait that long. They are wrecking in the back of the pack. That is the 2 of Michael Robinson, the 27 of Ryan Phillips, also caught up in that. Going to have to check this on the VSPEED instant replay. A lot to unpack there early on, Lucas.
Yeah, that's definitely the case. Looking back further in the pack, you had Eric Hutton look to the inside of the 27 of Ryan Phillips. Might have just got it tight, yeah, and gets right into the left rear, sends Ryan Phillips into the wall, and a bunch of drivers just piling in with nowhere to go.
Yeah, Jake Mackey in the 13 was caught up in that as well. You could see the 29 of Michael Robinson. The one car that I'm not sure if they made it through or not is that 5 of Alan Dice. My pre-race pick, I did get into the back of the 13 there of Jake Mackey. So we're saying 3 laps in, the broadcaster curse has struck the 5 car. I'm going to go ahead and issue an apology to driver number 5, Alan Dice, for that. Can't help but feel a little bit responsible for it, but caution here early on, and it is showing that that black flag that Brody Hayes did have on that first lap is now cleared, with him coming down pit road there when he did. So, unfortunate for our championship leader, but I mean, as far as the timing goes, if you're going to have an issue, the timing really couldn't have been any better for him as far as that goes. It happened early, immediately gets the caution after serving it. So it essentially amounts to an EOL here.
Yeah, that's definitely the case. And with him having that 25-point lead over second place, if he still runs into bad luck tonight, he still will more than likely hold the lead due to that 25-point gap, and we are only having 20 drivers tonight. So definitely a really lucky break for Brody Hayes. Just has to be careful going into these restarts further on, as it looks like Jeremiah Hobbs is going to take the top here.
Yeah, something that we have seen with the restart zone. I've seen it in other leagues where it can get a little bit wonky on that initial start. You have to wait for the iRacing green. And sometimes just the way that you enter that restart zone, if you put just a nose ahead before that green flag comes out, it'll give that black flag. So something that all these drivers are going to be mindful of here with that having happened now. But taking a look at our quick reset here, Jeremiah Hobbs is scored as your leader with Ryan Gemmel in second, Seth Hatchell in third. Bailey Turner running in fourth. The boss man, Adam Baker, now in fifth. Rest of your top 10 as they run: Chris Samar, Dennis Faircloth, Cody Atkins, Todd Giles Jr., and actually showed Brody Hayes back up to the number 10 position already here.
Yeah, it might have been where he cycled out coming off of pit road with that drive-through, and with that caution come out, it freezes the field. So a really lucky break for the 37 of Brody Hayes.
Well, and actually just a quick cleanup on that. So it looks like the drivers that are restarting behind Brody came down pit road to get damage fixed. So with him staying out there, is actually, he was able to gain some of those spots back. So not the worst thing that could have happened to him there. I mean, obviously you don't like losing that track position, but you know, he didn't end up going all the way to the back as a result of the timing. But as you can see there, lights off on the pace truck. We're going to give this another go. Jeremiah Hobbs, the control car, he chose the outside for this restart. See how that works out here for him. Pace truck has pulled off. Hobbs now in that restart zone. Green flag is in the air, and he gets a really nice launch up on that high groove. And I think that's something we're going to see throughout the evening, because that fresher pavement actually extends farther on the top side than it does on the bottom. It's a little bit more grip when you launch up there.
Yeah, it's like you said, that better grip on that top side. Might see it all night long with restarts if we continue to have it. As you see a little bit there coming out of turn 4, just better grip with that new pavement as the control car, and being able to fire off pretty well.
Yeah, that top groove at Iowa, at least that middle groove, always seems like, even before the repave, that was really the line you wanted to run. If you got too far up the track, you know, you would burn the right front tire off of it, but running that kind of middle groove seemed like a nice happy median with being the fastest way to get around the track. Let's take a look here at our championship leader. Brody Hayes already worked his way back up into the top 10, as we had mentioned. Tried to complete the pass on Cody Atkins for 7th. Put Brody Hayes into that 7th position, able to complete the move, as we've got a battle for the lead up front between Jeremiah Hobbs, Ryan Gemmel, and Seth Hatchell, all under a blanket here for that top spot.
Yeah, we'll have to see how this bottom lane plays out and see if they can save the tires running that lane with that newer pavement. And right now, still side by side with Jeremiah Hobbs not being able to get that run off to get clear as he gets in the wall.
Hobbs gets into the wall there.
Teammates
and that is good. Oh, sorry, go ahead, Lucas.
I was going to say teammates of Seth Hatchell and Ryan Gemmel kind of working a little bit together. Seth giving him a little bit of bump out of turn 4 to get him a little bit clear, and Ryan Gemmel's going to take the lead.
Yeah, that definitely allowed the 6 of Gemmel to get out into that clean air. Seth Hatchell on the bottom now, trying to take advantage as well. See if he can complete the move on Jeremiah Hobbs. And one thing about it, you don't really have to worry about saving the tires right now. We've got that comp caution coming up in 7 laps. You might as well go ahead and smoke them while you got them. Just burn them down and see what you can do here. Hatchell on the bottom, not able to complete that pass as of yet. Jeremiah Hobbs using that momentum, and that's going to allow Bailey Turner to look to the inside of Hatchell. He's going to be able to pull the slider there, but Hatchell looking for the crossover.
Yeah, Seth Hatchell with a great crossover so far. Let's see if he's able to complete the pass. Coming out turn 4, still side by side, coming off the corner. Bailey Turner holding him pretty tight down to the bottom. And Brody Hayes already to the 5th position from restarting in 10th on that restart. So Brody Hayes is working really, really quick through this field.
Yeah, Brody Hayes making short work of getting his way back up to the front, as he is to the outside of one of his closest competitors in this championship battle, the 24 of Bailey Turner. They get close off of turn 4. No contact between them as of yet, but Brody Hayes is looking to get himself back up into a podium position as he works that outside lane. You can see just carries so much momentum on corner exit. He's able to complete that pass and put the 37 back up to the number 3 spot.
Yeah, as Brody Hayes was able to make that pass on Bailey Turner, Seth Hatchell is now working. As Bailey Turner shifts it into turn one, does the slide job on Brody Hayes. Let's see if Brody Hayes is able to do that crossover, come out too, and it looks like he's not able to, as now Ryan Gimmel is dealing with lap traffic of the 27 of Ryan Phillips.
And that's going to be an interesting wrinkle as they come up on the 27 here because of how narrow the groove is. But Ryan Phillips gets out of the way, lets these leaders race it out with that damage on the front end of his car. So doesn't play a factor in this particular instance, but Brody Hayes now starting to put some pressure on that number 31 of Jeremiah Hobbs for the number 2 position. And, you know, you mentioned it, Lucas, that was pretty much a power move down there to get around Brody Hayes by that 24 car, able to make it stick. Now trying to get up there and take that number 2 spot away.
Yeah, he totally licked it and shipped it in turn one to complete that pass like you were saying. So we'll have to see if drivers see what Bailey Turner is doing and try to implement it in their own kind of way, as Brody Hayes is now almost to the rear bumper of Bailey Turner again, running that same line right in those tire tracks as Bailey Turner.
And as this battle starts to heat up, we are going to see the yellow flag here, and that is going to be our competition caution here at lap number 20 at Iowa. So would have to think that these drivers, even though we did have that early caution, I would have to think that everybody would take the opportunity to come down pit road here, at least put fuel in the cars. It would make it a one-stop race from here if it does end up going green. But we see here the field checking up, letting that pace truck by. They should be coming down pit road here momentarily.
Yeah, I would be shocked if they actually don't take tires also, because the pace is already fallen off a second as of now, and we've only ran about, what, Daniel, 15 green flag laps as of now in this race?
Yeah, that's a really good point. I actually had not looked at the lap times just yet, but you are 100% correct. About a second of fall off, even with the abbreviated runs we had there. So way more than I honestly thought we would have with this repave. It seems like, you know, even with that fresher pavement, Iowa's still doing Iowa things and it's still eating the tires up. So everybody coming down pit road here. Going to see who can get out of pit lane in that number 1 spot. And, you know, kind of curious to see if anybody may try a little 2-tire gamble here with no more laps than we have on these tires. It looks like Jeremiah Hobbs actually first one out of pit road. Michael Jones comes out in second. Believe that may have been a 2-tire stop for him. Chris Samard, Ryan Gimmel, Brody Hayes, your top 5 as they come off of the pit lane. So, yeah, you know, it seems like we may have just a little bit of a mixed bag of strategy here.
Yeah, that's definitely the case. Maybe a fuel only for the 31, the 2, and maybe right side tires for Chris Samard. So we'll have to see how that plays out. But what do you say, Daniel? We go back and try to see what happened to Brody Hayes with that black flag on that start.
Yeah, this is coming to the initial start. You can see Hayes there is on the outside, and he gets just ahead of Ryan Gimmel here coming into the restart zone. You can see it there. And in all likelihood, that is what led to the black flag that the 37 had. So good detective work, good camera work there to be able to catch that. But yeah, something that these drivers will have to keep in mind. And, you know, also you mentioned those pit stop times, just 9 seconds in the box for Jeremiah Hobbs and Chris Samard, 6.1 for Michael Jones. But I believe, I don't know if he may have taken tires when he had that earlier incident that he did get a piece of. So top 3, definitely not on 4 tires, but everybody from 4th place on back is going to be on the 4 fresh tires. Jeremiah Hobbs here electing that outside, it looks like, for this restart.
If Michael Robson did take tires on that last time by when we had that caution with Ryan Phillips, he might be in the best position right now, because that would force Ryan Gimmel, Brody Hayes, Bailey Turner, and Seth Hatchell to all drive through both Jeremiah Hobbs and Chris Samard, who are on either no tires or fuel only. So it might play out really, really well for Michael Robinson. We just have to see how it plays out.
Definitely some intrigue here early on. And then even looking at that third row on this restart, Brody Hayes and Bailey Turner, the two highest running championship contenders. I say championship contenders. There are chase drivers ahead of them, but these are the two that are up there at the top of the standings at the moment coming into this race. So a little bit of intrigue there as well to see who's going to come out on top between that battle. But the pace truck is off, field in control of Jeremiah Hobbs. He's going to get a really good launch as that bottom lane just does not fire off. The two of Michael Jones struggling on those older tires. He's going to lose a few spots already here on this initial start. Already back to fourth. Brody Hayes looking to the inside. Bailey Turner trying to take advantage as well.
Yeah, he's definitely getting freight trained right now. And it might be because of that older pavement coming out of turn 4, not getting a good grip. Or it could be the old tires. We don't know. We don't know if he took tires on that first pit stop that he had or that last one. Probably not that last one due to how short it was. But from second to sixth in 1 lap total. And now under attack from Seth Hatchell.
Yeah, Seth Hatchell in that 8 car looking on the bottom. He's got the position at the line. Should be able to clear as they head down into turns 1 and 2. Of course, as I say that, Michael Jones doing a nice job hanging on the outside here, using that little bit longer stretch of fresher pavement. He is going to concede the position. Dennis Faircloth, again, the birthday boy out there, he's looking to the inside. He's going to be able to clear for number 7. And the free fall for that 2 car continues as Adam Baker is going to look to the inside here as well.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be...
and around goes the 2. I thought he was going to save it, but he spins down to the bottom. Looks like no caution as of right now because he did spin off the track surface onto the apron. We could see it that he was struggling with grip there. Just back end starts to come around on that number 2 car and just lacking the grip that he needs to be able to try to correct and counter steer into it.
Yeah, definitely a really tough break for Michael Jones, so he's going to have to definitely regroup. This is going to be a long race ahead of him, especially if it goes green. He's going to lose a lot of time, even if he was just out there on those older tires. But as of right now, Jeremiah Hoff is still holding really, really strong right now. And
contact between Turner and Hayes there. Looked like Brody Hayes may have gotten into the wall before the contact even happened, but definitely a little bit of door banging, a little bit of fender rubbing there between our 2 championship contenders.
Yeah, it's definitely a scary moment for Brody Hayes. And man, he did a really good job of holding on to it and not losing more spots. And then he got so tight, he had to run that very top line, which we might not even see come in tonight. We'll have to see how the time of day plays into this race if it becomes a night race. But a really good job from Brody Hayes. Now, 4 cars under a blanket of Jeremiah Hobbs, Seth Hatchell, Bailey Turner, and Brody Hayes fighting for that 3rd spot.
And that 31 of Jeremiah Hobbs, right as soon as you mentioned that he was doing a good job of hanging on there, he had one heck of a moment just a couple laps ago, right when the contact between the 24 and 37 took place. He just about lost it off of turn 4. I mean, he had that thing all but wrecked, was able to save it and continue on. But you can see here, you mentioned it, 4 cars under a blanket. Jeremiah Hobbs doing everything he can to hang on here. Looks like he's just holding up this line just a little bit, as in behind them, Brody Hayes gets passed by the 24 of Bailey Turner. He's able to take that number 5 position while they're riding behind Hobbs.
Yeah, it looks like also Brody Hayes got in the wall yet again entering turn 1, giving that run to Bailey Turner. It's now Bailey Turner's looking at the inside of Jeremiah Hobbs coming out of turn 4. Big loose again for Jeremiah Hobbs.
That 31 is hanging on by a wing and a prayer right now. You can see just how much he is struggling for grip, sending it for everything he can to try to hang on to this position. Gets run up the track just a little bit. No contact between he and Brody Hayes. but close racing between the two of them as they came through turns 1 and 2 and onto the back straightaway. 31 into the wall yet again. He's going to get passed by Faircloth and Adam Baker as they go down the front straightaway. Cody Atkins, Alan Dice now looking to the inside as well.
Yeah, if I was these other drivers paying attention to what happened to Michael Jones and Jeremiah Hobbs yet again, big loose. Tokyo drifting 3 and 4 and able to save it.
And that may have been more than just a little bit loose or big loose. I believe there was actually a bit of contact with the 5 of Alan Dice there as they went through turns 3 and 4. Not sure if maybe it was netcode or actual contact made, but it looked like the 5 slid up the track just a little bit right before Hobbs got loose there, but able to hang on to it for now. But, you know, we are already seeing it. We're only 16 laps into this green flag run. Actually, not quite 16. That's just since they pitted, not counting counting the caution laps. But these drivers are already starting to fight that loose condition, something that, you know, that with us running these custom setups, trying to free these ARCA cars up just a little bit, these drivers have to manage that right rear, and something that's already coming into play.
Yeah. It's like you said, Daniel, these will be different setups in what drivers run in the official races, where they can just go in, practice, race with other people that iRacing provides. The admins over here at BTDY go in and modify it to free it up a little bit, because drivers were complaining just on iRacing entirely that the setups get too tight in the long run. So we're trying to help the drivers with the driving conditions of the car, as now Chris Samard is on the inside of Ryan Gimmel.
Yeah, good battle for the lead brewing here between Gimmel and Samard, and they have a few others ready to join the party here as Seth Hatchell, Bailey Turner, Brody Hayes all closing in on this battle as well. Last time around, just looking at our lap times, the fastest car out of this top 5 was actually Brody Hayes at a 23:49. Everybody else in the 23:5, 6s, maybe even a little bit slower than that. They do pick the pace up this lap though, but top 5 cars all closing in on one another here. Oh, it looks like Seth Hatchell may have just kissed the wall off of turn 2 there, with Brody Hayes tucked up right behind them trying to find a way around.
Yeah, as you see it there with that camera angle, all these drivers getting really loose as now Chris Samard gets in the wall. Seth Hatchell and Bailey Turner able to go the inside. Bailey Turner still even with Chris Samard. Seth Hatchell's able to get cleared as more drivers making contact with that back straightaway.
Yeah, it looks like Chris Samard started to really struggle with the handling of that race car the last time around. Maybe got the tires a little bit angry there. Going to have to back off and cool them down just a little bit. That's going to allow Seth Hatchell to get up there to the number 2 position. Bailey Turner still putting the pressure on though. He wants that number 2 spot, trying to find a way around as they work around the lap car up there on the high side, doing what they can to stay out of the way of this lead battle here. Bailey Turner, though, in the 24 is going to take a look to the inside of Seth Hatchell. We'll see if he can make it stick down there on the bottom. Hatchell going to have the momentum as it looks like a little wiggle there out of the 24. Still able to stay side by side as they head down into turn 3 and 4, and going to be able to clear the 8 of Seth Hatchell. A little bit of a slide up in front there, put the 24 up to P2.
And a little bit behind, it looked like Chris Samard was about to make the move on his teammate, and Brody Hayes just gets a little bit tight going into turn 1, goes up the track and let Brody Hayes by. But it's like you said, we've seen Bailey Turner do this all night. He really likes to send these corners pretty hard and then drift up into the position that he wants to take over. And it's been working really well, so we'll have to see how these drivers take note of that and how they implement it into their strategy to gain positions.
It has definitely been working for him here early on, has allowed him to make some passes. And he's actually up 5 positions from where he started on the night. One of our biggest movers here so far, Alan Dice in that 10th spot, actually our biggest mover of the race so far, up 6 positions from where he started out in this one. So, maybe not the full broadcaster curse as he takes a look here right on the back bumper of the 88 of Hutton as Hutton gets big loose in front of him. You can see that was a pretty big wiggle out of the 88 car there.
Yeah, these drivers are really fighting these loose conditions as it falls into night here at Iowa. It might help these drivers with a little bit more rear end grip, but these drivers really having to pedal that throttle to really keep the rear end underneath them.
Yeah, absolutely. And it almost reminds me of the old Iowa surface. And, I'm really curious too, because it seems like it seems like when you're running that bottom, that it really starts to upset the balance when you cross over that transition from the newer pavement to the older pavement. So something that I'll be interested to see once we get a chance to talk to these drivers after the race, if that is indeed the case, or if it's just maybe setup wise that's the way it's driving. But definitely something to keep an eye on here as we head throughout the evening. But taking a look up here at this battle for second, third, and fourth, Bailey Turner has not pulled away from these guys. They are still hot on his tail. Brody Hayes in that number 37 machine has caught up to the back bumper of Seth Hatchell as well. So the battle for second here is on between three cars, and Chris Samard trying to work his way back up there as well.
Yeah, Chris Samard just basically waiting in the wings, might be saving tires a little bit and let them come back to him and have a better long run car. But the fastest car out of Bailey Turner, Seth Hatchell, and Brody Hayes has been Brody Hayes consistently on end. So once Brody Hayes gets around them, he might be able to go up to Ryan Gemmel. But my question to you, Daniel, is will his tires be able to make it up there and get around Ryan?
Yeah, the interesting thing to me right now is, we could see it as these cars drive around here. We've talked about the repave, where the grip is at in the turns. You look at turns 1 and 2 here, it's only 2 lanes through the majority of the turn. That third groove up there does have a repaved section once you get closer to the exit, but even down here in 3 and 4, it's kind of the same thing. You can see where that darker pavement is, and for the majority of the turn, it's only 2 lanes wide. So, your passing opportunities are going to be a little bit difficult to come by here, because if you run too far up the track, get into that lighter pavement, you're going to lose what grip you do have. We're already seeing these drivers struggle with grip as it is. And, I just, not saying that you can't pass, but I just think it's going to be a little bit difficult to pull off here. But as we say that, it looks like Bailey Turner yielding that top groove to Seth Hatchell and actually giving him the top side. It looks like he's actually just going to let Seth go here. So little bit of a gentleman's move here early on. Only 56 laps into this race, just past 1/3 of the way. Finished as looks like he was getting loose there off of turn 4. So maybe that might just be Bailey Turner saying, hey, I know that I'm struggling with grip. Before I do something that takes me out of this race or put myself in a bad spot, go ahead and take this. Let me see if I can get this car settled back down a little.
Well, Daniel, it might be that, but another thing is, you know how I like to stir the pot. These drivers right here, Bailey Turner and Brody Hayes, had a confrontation at Charlotte late in the race where Brody Hayes had to get to the rear bumper and kind of move Bailey Turner out of the way, and Bailey Turner got wrecked by that. So, will we see sparks fly? I don't know. I'm just a storyteller, and they write the story for me.
We will see. As of right now, really respectful racing between the two. Bailey Turner does fall in line behind the 37 of Brody Hayes. Right as soon as I say that, though, he gets right up on the back bumper of Hayes, maybe trying to pack a little bit of air behind that 37 car. But Brody Hayes now up to the 3rd position. Bailey Turner in 4th. Chris Samard riding right behind in that 5th position. Turner going to take a look to the inside here, wrapping that bottom groove. So this battle is not over yet. I know you said you like to stir the pot, but these two, it seemed like Bailey Turner kind of let Seth Hatchell go, but he is keeping the pressure on his championship rival here.
Yeah, that's definitely the case as we see. And another thing to talk about, Ryan Gemmel is now running into lap traffic, running a tenth slower last time by than second place driver of Seth Hatchell. Is now Michael Jones is now kind of falling back into the third, fourth, and fifth position. So we'll have to see how they navigate that. But right now, Seth Hatchell is almost to Ryan Gemmel.
Yeah, they have definitely closed in on that number 6 machine of Ryan Gemmel, and this battle for third is not over yet. Bailey Turner still tucked up right behind Brody Hayes. Gonna take another look to the inside here in turns 3 and 4. Slides up just a little bit. No contact between the two. Tight, close racing. Oh, as Brody Hayes actually gets into the wall on the entry of turn number 1. And that's going to allow Bailey Turner to get by for third.
Yeah, really tight racing is now Brody Hayes running immediately in the tire tracks of Bailey Turner, just trying to see what he can do to get a little bit of clean air on his nose and some air on his spoiler to keep that rear end underneath him.
Yeah, it looked like maybe just trying to give a little bit of room there on entry that last lap by to the 24 of Bailey Turner. Just overestimated just a touch and got into the wall there. But up front, the battle for the lead is on between Gemmel and Hatchell. Gemmel there up on the top side. Seth Hatchell able to pull the slider on him, put the number 8 car up to P1. He is able to take the lead here on lap number 65. And you mentioned it, these drivers had closed right in on the 6 of Ryan Gemmel. Bailey Turner now on the back bumper of Gemmel as well. He's going to try to find a way around for second as everybody seems to have migrated down to that bottom groove. But Bailey Turner with the momentum, he's looking to the inside, and he may be able to complete this pass on the entry of 1 and 2. He actually is able to easily complete that pass.
One thing I'm really going to be interested in seeing is how Ryan Gemmel is able to navigate this dirty air, as now Brody Hayes gets a pass on and Ryan Gemmel is going to slot into 4th position. But this is the first time that Ryan Gemmel has been in dirty air all night. He might just be backing up, saving tires, and see what he can do later on in the run, because our first stint was only about 15 laps. So really going to be interested to see what all these drivers in the top 5 do, because they've been up here all night so far. So definitely going to be really interested to see what driver is able to navigate this track as the night goes on. As one thing we haven't talked about, Daniel, is the weather tonight. It's 77 degrees air temp and 85 degrees track temp. So it's a really cool night here in the corn state of Iowa.
Yeah, we'll have to keep an eye on that as we get a little bit deeper into this race. Would have to think the track temp will continue to drop and the speeds will go up, maybe a little bit more grip for these drivers as well. As you can see here, top 5 really running pretty close together, single file for the moment between them. And you know, we're going to be closing in on pit stops here before too terribly long. You can see the last lap time there over on our scoring pylon. And, you know, we had talked about Ryan Gemmel, maybe he's trying to save a little bit of tire, maybe just dropping back. Got to wonder if maybe he pushed a little too hard early as well. So he did get out to a pretty substantial lead there for a little bit. So, you know, maybe just went a little too hard too early, and it's costing him here later on in the run.
Yeah, that definitely could be it too, as they're navigating lap traffic yet again here at Iowa. And as of right now, lap times between all top 5 drivers are pretty similar as of right now, not being able to get away from one another. So drivers keeping other drivers really honest here tonight.
Yeah, all of our top 5 here running within about a 1/10 of a second of each other as far as lap times go. So really consistent here between the top 5. And then just taking a look a little bit further back, see Cody Atkins there in the number 6 position. He's probably hoping that I don't mention him because of the season that he has had, and it's just been snake bit seemingly every week. But nice to see that 55 car up here running in the top 10. Really solid performance there in 6th as he navigates a little bit of lap traffic here. going to the inside of the 25 car there of Paul Hahn. But yeah, really nice to see Cody having a solid run up there in that 6th position.
Yeah, really nice to see. Hopefully a turnaround night for Cody Atkins, because I remember him almost having a top 10 in Dover, and then that wreck and the final lap on turn 3 really kind of ruined his night and left a sour taste in his mouth. And he's been able to put good races together, but just constantly running into bad luck.
Yeah, definitely been a bit of a black cloud season, we'll say, for that 55 of Cody Atkins. As we approach the halfway point of this race, a little bit further back, this is the closest battle for position on track. It's between Alan Dice and Eric Hutton, and they have a host of lap traffic that they're dealing with. See the 27 there, Ryan Phillips soldiering on with a car that looks more like a modified, missing that entire front end. And Eric Hutton actually able to use the lap car of Michael Jones here as a little bit of a pick. Going to try to get around Alan Dice for that number 8 position. It's like he's going to be able to clear. So nice move there out of Eric Hutton, able to get up another spot here. Still a couple more lap cars that these guys will have to navigate. See the 25 there directly ahead. And we got the boss man of Adam Baker just ahead as well.
Yeah, Eric Hutton out here looking like Ryan Gimmel. Might as well call him Eric Gimmel for that fact, on the exact same paint scheme as we did at Watkins Glen. But Alan Dice was able to get back around Eric Hutton, and Eric Hutton's not letting him get away as they still try to continue to navigate this lap traffic of the 25.
Yeah, this battle is still on between the two of them. Now Alan Dice going to try to use the lap car as a pick, similar to Eric Hutton, how he did it earlier. The 25, though, does a nice job moving up the track. Paul Hahn there, giving them plenty of room to race. And now Eric Hutton's going to send it back down on the bottom, try to get around Alan Dice yet again. So I guess it's about the 4th or 5th time we've seen a position change between these two. Give it to Eric Hutton at the line. We'll see if he can complete the pass here down in turns 1 and 2. But Alan Dice carrying quite a bit of momentum off of turn number 2. Gets a little loose, almost kisses the wall off of 2, but able to hold it down for now. However, you can see got those right side tires up in that lighter gray pavement in 3 and 4 and just didn't quite have the grip that he needed to take the fight back to Eric Hutton yet again.
Yeah, both of these drivers basically being like, oh, you're going to use the lap cars to pick this time. I'll do the exact same thing to you this next time by. And it's been a really good battle between Eric Hutton and Alan Dice, but this battle seems to settle out as of right now.
Yeah, you know, Lucas, it almost reminds me of some battles that we've had on track where, you know, we might be back there racing at the back part of the top 10 or what have you, and we're just like, yeah, you know what, we're the only two here, let's just go ahead and just start throwing haymakers at each other. So you got to have a little bit of fun while you're out there, and those two are definitely putting on a good show there for us. Meanwhile, back up at the front, nothing has changed up there. Seth Hatchell in that 8 car, still setting the pace, about a half a second ahead of Bailey Turner, about another half second back to Brody Hayes in the 37. Ryan Gimmel still hanging on to that number 4 position. Chris Simard has actually fallen back just a little bit of this group, rounding out the top 5 there. So, yeah, up front, it's been all Seth Hatchell ever since he's gotten the lead from Ryan Gimmel as he goes around the 13 here of Jake Bakke to put him a lap down. That's only going to leave us with 10 cars on the lead lap as of right now.
Now, I wonder how much this clean air is benefiting Seth Hatchell, being able to get air on his nose, being able to plane it to the track and some air on his spoiler, and how much that's affecting Bailey Turner in the 2nd position, not being able to get that clean air. So really, really good drive from Seth Hatchell so far, using that clean air to his benefit, running only a 10th of a lap, well, half a 10th of a lap slower than Bailey Turner right now. So should be some fireworks once Bailey Turner is able to get there. Should be a good race.
Yeah, Bailey Turner slowly but surely looks like he's starting to cut that gap down as we actually have some green flag pit stops starting here. These drivers are in the window to make it to the end. Adam Baker, the first of our lead lap drivers to hit the pit lane. See Michael Jones in the 2. He was off the lead lap. Ryan Phillips getting some of that damage fixed that he had earlier. But a little bit of a roll of the dice here from Adam Baker. Speaking of dice, Alan Dice also on pit road, another one of our lead lap cars. He's pitting from that number 9 position, coming down to get his regularly scheduled service here.
So I would like to ask my personal Ferrari strategist, what is your thoughts on undercutting here tonight, as we've seen the pace continue to fall off, still at about a second of fall off right now? Do you think it's beneficial to split this last segment of the race into thirds, into half, or what's your thoughts here, Daniel?
Well, you said it right that I am I think I'm overqualified to be a Ferrari pitch strategist with some of the calls that I make. But yeah, the danger that you run into with doing the undercut here is you're going to lose at least one lap. And our 2 lead lap drivers that have come down pit road, Adam Baker and Alan Dice, they are actually both currently showing 2 laps down. So if a caution comes out, that's pretty much their race right there. It's going to be very difficult to rebound from something like that. You know, the positive to it is you can see right here just the speed difference between what Alan Dice has and what our 3rd place driver of Brody Hayes has. So, I mean, myself personally, with the way that we've seen these cars getting loose, I don't think that I would undercut it. Just for the fear of somebody maybe getting loose and spinning and bringing out that caution flag. But Lucas, you've raced with me enough to know that whatever pitch strategy call I make when it comes to these green flag pit stops is usually the wrong one. So that being said, it's probably the better idea to just go ahead, undercut, see if you can get some track position, and then just make the guys work for it if they do indeed end up catching back up to you.
And another thing to talk about too, Daniel, is that the pit lane here is also really, really hard to get on. This is probably one of the hardest to get on, as you see Brody Hayes and Ryan Gillum going on a pit road. It's like a hard 90-degree turn onto pit road, and you don't have a big gap to make a mistake. As speaking of Ryan Gillum, he has a black flag for speeding here tonight. So,
and actually, not to interrupt you, Lucas, but Brody Hayes has a meatball flag. I think he caught the pit barrels coming down pit road. You can see it there. The right front tire was not turning on that 37 car. I thought I caught it with the tire not turning, and yeah, you could see it there, just coming in hot onto the pit lane. You called it 100% there, Lucas. This is one of the more difficult pit roads to get onto, and our championship leader, Brody Hayes, with big damage. He's actually disconnected from the session after that, so big championship implications here, and that must have been a race ender with how hard and the angle that he hit those pit barrels at. You can see it there from the onboard. That was a pretty substantial hit, and that is a night ender for the 37 car.
Yeah, it's like I was saying, and I might have cursed him for talking about it, but it's such a hard pit road to get on, and lucky for Brody Hayes that he has that 25-point gap over second place, so should still have the points lead tonight, but definitely a hard pit road to get on, as now Seth Hatchell's going to pit road.
Yeah, absolutely. As you mentioned, it's Seth Hatchell making the left-hand turn to come down pit road. Host of others on pit road as well. You can see Chris Samard has come down. Looks like Eric Hutton is on pit road now, as well as Seth Hatchell. So that's pretty much everybody as far as our lead lap cars prior to this pit cycle. See Dennis Faircloth currently on pit road as well, getting his green flag pit stop out of the way. So really curious to see how things shake out here. It looks like Seth Hatchell should still cycle around to be our race leader, but you could see it right there. Adam Baker and Alan Dice, as a result of that massive undercut that they made, pitting about 10 laps earlier than the rest of the leaders, they are now sitting in the top 5. And, you know, if a caution falls the right way for them, they've got that valuable track position. So nice gamble here out of the two of them to just try to make some ground up here this evening.
Yeah, it's like you said, Daniel. Great job by both Adam Baker and Alan Dice to get that track position. My question is how long will their tires be able to hold up as we look at the last lap they pitted? 10 laps later, before Seth Hatchell, Bailey Turner, and Chris Samard was when Adam Baker and Alan Dice pitted, both on 85 and 86. So as you see, Adam Baker making a little bit of contact with the wall a little further back of Chris Samard. So hopefully their tires can hold up pitting 10 laps before everybody else.
That is going to be the big question mark. And one other thing that I want to point out as well, Bailey Turner actually undercut Seth Hatchell by 1 lap. And Seth Hatchell has increased his lead through this pit cycle, as you can see it there, to 2.9, almost 3 seconds. So even though Bailey Turner did the undercut, I mean, just a really nice job on and off pit road there by the 8 of Seth Hatchell. And, you know, you also got to kind of wonder, because Bailey Turner did come down pit road after the 37 of Brody Hayes. So you got to wonder if maybe Bailey Turner just saying, hey, I have the opportunity to gain quite a bit of points here this evening with Brody Hayes running into that issue. Let's just take it easy. If we run second, we run second. It's a good points night and puts me right back in the thick of this title fight.
Well, looking at last lap times, that I would say he's kind of backing it down, but he's running the exact same lap times as Seth Hatchell, our leader, who has a 3-second lead over Bailey Turner, both running 23-second 0.1 lap times right now. So basically running tooth and nail with Seth Hatchell.
Yeah, and one thing about it, if Bailey Turner does have the opportunity to get up there and put some pressure on Seth Hatchell, he's definitely going to do so and try to get that race win. You know, we're all racers. We all want to win. But sometimes you just got to take those good points nights when the opportunity presents itself. And the opportunity is definitely there for the 24 of Bailey Turner here this evening to get himself back in that championship hunt. And, you know, just doing a really nice job here in that second place. Just kept himself really clean throughout the evening. And, yeah, just doing everything he needs to do right now.
Yeah, he's definitely doing a really good job. Been able to keep his car clean and has been doing a really good job. Probably one of the best, in my opinion, of making passes as this race has been going on. But since we have a small break in the action, why don't we do a quick side-by-side and see what action can develop as we thank a few of our sponsors.
At Cynthia Rogers, MD Dermatology, we specialize in providing comprehensive expert care for the full spectrum of skin conditions, from complex skin diseases and skin cancer to aging concerns and aesthetic needs. With decades of combined experience in medical, surgical, and aesthetic dermatology, our team brings both deep clinical knowledge and a patient-first approach to every visit. Our practice focuses on developing personalized treatment plans tailored to each individual's skin, health, and life stage. We're located in Port St. Lucie, Florida, in the PSL Professional Center. Learn more or schedule a visit at floridaskindoctor.com.
Welcome back to Iowa Speedway, and thank you to those great sponsors we have that support this series and make these broadcasts, these races possible. As you can see there, a battle between a couple of the admins over here in BTDY. Cody Atkins in the 55, able to take the number 5 position from Alan Dice, utilizing that tire advantage. Actually got about 6 lap fresher tires than Alan Dice. Going to try to go to work on catching Adam Baker next. for that number 4 position. Right now, just 1.5 seconds between those two drivers, but you can see the lap since last pit over there on the left-hand side that we had up there for you. Cody Atkins with 7 lap fresher tires than the 47 of Adam Baker. So not out of the question for him to get up there and get one more spot out of this as we head to the later stages of this race.
Yeah, as of right now, he's running about a tenth faster than Adam Baker right now. And Adam Baker is currently experiencing blinking issues. So if it gets too bad, iRacing will send Adam Baker to the pits to hopefully have his connection reset. So he might be able to get that P4 position just by maybe a few internet connections from Adam Baker.
Yeah, something that iRacing has added in recent updates, that if your connection does start to cause a little bit too much of a blinking issue, that they'll actually send you to pit road and basically say, hey, straighten up or ship out. Get that internet connection fixed. So something to keep an eye on here is it looks like he has stabilized up there in that number 4 position, about 1.2 seconds here ahead of Cody Atkins in 5th. And you know, this is really the closest race that we have going on between the two of them. And I say close, even though it's not close just yet on the racetrack. Cody Atkins putting down some pretty good lap times, especially compared to the lap times that Adam Baker is running with those older tires.
So one thing we were talking about earlier in the show, Daniel, was with this repave. And since we're talking about Cody Atkins, why don't we ride on board with Cody to actually see how this transition is between the new surface and the older surface, to see and kind of get a better understanding of what these drivers are dealing with.
Yeah, you can see it there, just a little loose off of turn 2, nothing major out of the 55, keeping it right underneath of him. And you can see that transition there as he comes off of turn number 4. It seems like with where that top groove extends with the newer pavement, that you want to try to keep all 4 tires in that new pavement if at all possible. You can almost see Adam Baker kind of running that line there ahead of him as we continue to ride on board here. You know, you can see that they're trying to keep in that fresher, grippier pavement for as long as they possibly can.
Yeah, that definitely seems to be the case, and just seems really stable doing that line. So these drivers really navigating the fresh repave pretty well here.
Yeah, absolutely. As Cody Atkins has closed that gap down to Adam Baker now to about a half a second, 0.6 of a second. So definitely some speed out of that 55. Also with that tire advantage, that never hurts the cause either. So, you know, it looks like the last lap by Cody Atkins about a tenth, little over a tenth of a second faster. So with the rate that he's going, if he can keep that pace up, he will be on the back bumper of that 47 here momentarily.
Yeah, that's definitely the case. And just seems to be doing a really good job in trying to turn his luck around that he has been these past few weeks here in BTDY. So as of right now, trying not to curse him, but Cody Atkins looking really, really good for a top 5 finish here tonight.
Well, and at the risk of leaving the camera on him for a little bit too long and putting that broadcaster curse, let's take a look at the battle for position directly behind these two. That is Alan Dice in the 5, Eric Hutton in the 77. We have seen these two drivers near each other pretty much the entire race here this evening. And this is kind of the same scenario as what we have with Adam Baker and Cody Atkins. Eric Hutton with about 9 lap fresher tires than Alan Dice, currently last lap by almost a full 0.3 of a second faster was the 88 car of Hutton. And you can see there, Alan Dice struggling for grip, gets into the wall just a little bit on the back straightaway. That is going to open the door for the 88 of Hutton to look down on the inside. And they are side by side here at the line. Alan Dice still had it that last time by. Eric Hutton with the fresher tires, with the better grip. not quite able to complete it as of yet. They're still side by side down the back straightaway.
Yeah, definitely a good battle right now. As you see, Alan Dice puts a little bit of his right sides onto that older pavement, which concedes a position to Eric Hutton. And it's like you said, Daniel, this older pavement not having a lot of grip and causing these drivers to get loose on exit, and that's exactly what we saw with the 5 of Alan Dice.
Yeah, it's something that they talked about quite a bit in real life when NASCAR was here, just how much grip you lose with that older pavement. And, you know, just a bit of a weird repave that they did with this track as opposed to repaving the entire thing. So it definitely adds some extra wrinkles to how you have to drive this track. You have to be more mindful of how you exit the turns, where you're running in the middle of the turns and all of that. So you can see right there, the 88 doing a nice job of maintaining that line on exit, keeping the tires in that grippier pavement. So, you know, I know we talked about it quite a bit here this evening, but it's definitely the biggest thing as far as just how you get around this racetrack.
Yeah, that's definitely the case. And since we have a few laps until the battle between Cody Atkins and Adam Baker continues to heat up just a little bit, I have a second separating those drivers right now. We'll take a quick run through the field to see where your favorite driver is running. Seth Hatchell still holding on to his 3-second lead, started in the 5th position. Now is running in P1, leading 62, about to lead his 63rd lap here tonight. Bailey Turner started in the 7th position, now in 2nd, trying to run down the 8 of Seth Hatchell. The 77 of Chris Samard started 3rd, continuing to run 3rd. A pretty quiet night for Chris Samard so far. The 4 of Adam Baker started 6th, gaining a few positions. And now you see it. The battle between Cody Atkins and Adam Baker is on.
Yeah, Cody Atkins had actually dropped back just a little bit. Maybe that dirty air coming into play here, as you had talked about earlier, Lucas, and just trying to navigate that. You don't really have a ton of lane choices when you get up right behind somebody. And it just seems like whenever Cody gets to about 3-4 car lengths back, that dirty air starts to take over, and Adam Baker is able to maintain that position. As you can see, a big wiggle there out of the 55 off of turn 2 that last time by. So while that battle settled out, let's go ahead and continue our through the field. Running in the 6th position is the 88 of Eric Hutton, another driver that's had just kind of a quiet night. Started in 12th, currently running in that number 6 position. Alan Dice there behind in 7th. He's actually our biggest mover on the night so far, up 9 positions from where he started in 17th, currently running in that 7th position. And, well, I guess he's up 10 positions. I just can't count this evening. And there's the birthday boy, Dennis Faircloth, running in 8th. Actually just went a lap down to our race leader there of Seth Hatchell. So, but still a solid run for Dennis. Started 8th. Running 8th, and just keeping his nose clean with a solid result here so far. Ryan Gemmel, the next driver on the scoring pylon, he's running in 9th this evening and started up there on pole, led 47 laps, but second half of this race has been a bit of a struggle for that 6 car. And rounding out your top 10 as they currently run is Jake Mockey in that 13 car. And got caught up in an incident earlier on that. I believe it's actually that first incident of the race that we had. So nice recovery here by him as well, salvaging a top 10 out of it as they currently run. And it just quick rundown for the rest of your drivers. Michael Jones currently running in that 11th position. Paul Hahn in 12th. Todd Giles Jr. in 13th. Ryan Phillips in 14th. And then the drivers that have called it a night, Brody Hayes in 15th, Jeremiah Hobbs 16th, Max Cost in 17th, Michael Robinson in 18th. And that is your full field rundown as we get down here to about 15 laps to go. And nothing up front has changed. Seth Hatchell still 3 seconds ahead of Bailey Turner. Make that about 2.9 seconds now, as it kind of fluctuates a little bit. Bailey Turner, as we've seen all night, drives it really deep into the turns compared to some of these other drivers, and even it makes it a little bit hard for the scoring pylon sometimes to keep that gap up.
Yeah, that's definitely true. And I've ran with Seth in multiple different leagues, and saving tires is probably his strongest suit when it comes to racing. And you see it here. He is, ever since he had that 3-second gap, he has held on to it. And yes, there's sometimes when Bailey Turner gets to 2.8, but then Seth Hatchell turns the gas on and pulls it back to 3 seconds, and then he lets it go back down a little bit. Like, Seth Hatchell has done a phenomenal job so far, and it's honestly great to see him back out on track, and he's doing a really good job here tonight.
Yeah, he has absolutely done everything that he has needed to do for the second half of this race. A little bit further back in the top 5, Adam Baker now has a new challenger for that number 4 position. That's the 88 of Eric Hutton. Was able to get around Cody Atkins. Cody's starting to drop back just a little bit here. Still running in that 6th position, but Eric Hutton has 10 lap fresher tires than Adam Baker, and he has quickly closed the gap to that number 47 machine. Last time by, he was about 1/10 of a second faster, so we'll see if he can get up here and do anything with it. It seemed like once that 55 of Cody Atkins got up there, just wasn't able to break that aero bubble and started struggling with the grip. But Eric Hutton to this point closer than we had seen the 55 of Cody Atkins earlier. He's putting more pressure on Adam Baker, as he looks like he may have kissed the wall just a touch there, but he's putting some pressure on Adam Baker for 4th.
Yeah, and just a little bit of housekeeping here. Ryan Gemmell went back down pit road and got another black flag. So a really tough night for Ryan Gemmell so far. That's his 2nd black flag for speeding so far tonight.
Yeah, definitely a tough result for the man that started on the pole. Not the evening he was looking for, but you just saw it there. Eric Hutton able to complete the pass on Adam Baker, made it look almost easy once he got there, and takes that number 4 position inside of 10 laps to go. Don't think he will be able to catch any of the top 3 here just with the gaps that we're looking at, but really nice job here for Eric Hutton working his way up to that number 4 position. Take a look a little further back here. Cody Atkins may have the fresher tires, but he is struggling with grip right now. Alan Dice has actually tracked the 55 car back down, just a couple of tenths in between these two drivers in this battle for 6th.
Yeah, this battle between Cody Atkins and Alan Dice, a battle of the 5s, so you will, with the 55 and the 5. It's really heating up. Alan Dice is really putting on that pressure on Cody Atkins to make sure that Cody Atkins is hitting his marks like he should be. And Alan Dice has been running 1/10 to 2/10 faster every single lap than Cody Atkins so far.
Yeah, doing a really nice job. I honestly thought once Cody Atkins got around the 5 of Alan Dice that was pretty much game over for that battle, just with that tire difference that they have. But Alan Dice has done a nice job of conserving those tires, not pushing too hard early, as these two teammates continue to battle for that number 6 position. Alan Dice still running about, well, that lap they evened out just a little bit, but still just a little bit quicker, though, for that 5 car compared to his teammate, Cody Atkins.
Yeah, as you see, Cody Atkins is putting a little bit too much tire on that older pavement, and as Alan Dice gets loose, it spins!
Oh, no, and that is going to bring out the caution here inside of 5 laps to go. Alan Dice gets loose, trying to chase down his teammate, Cody Atkins. We'll take another look at it here. And, yeah, there goes my pick for the night. So sorry to the 5 car for that one. But he had done a really nice job of tracking down Cody, and maybe just a little bit too much rear brake dialed in. He was loose on entry before they even got there. and then an overcorrect once the car started to step out on him there, and just nose first into the wall. Massive damage, and actually a meatball flag for the 5 car.
Yeah, it's a really tough break because Alan Dietz was doing a really good job, but this is going to re-stack and re-rack the field as we see here riding on board. Just loose throughout the complete corner, trying to save it, gets in the gas a little bit too hard, overcorrects, and into the outside wall he goes.
And Lucas, we saw it with Richmond with a green-white checker on a late race restart. Will anybody try a 2-tire stop here? This is going to be basically a green-white checker once we get back rolling here. See Seth Hatchell in the 8 car. He's been in control all evening. Bailey Turner is indeed going to take the 2-tire stop. He's going to be the control car. First one off of pit road. Seth Hatchell going to be the 2nd car off of pit road. And after that, Eric Hutton coming out of the pits in 3rd. And I just, we saw it work for Keith Mayato back at Richmond. It was actually the first race that you and I called in this league together, Lucas. The late race caution, the 2-tire call. We thought Keith Mayato did not have a snowball's chance of making that work. And he made it work and came home with the win. Bailey Turner going to have the same opportunity here this evening. And actually, it looks like Seth Hatchell is actually back to 6th on this restart. I did not see if he got a penalty or what may have happened there, but it looked like he dropped way back in the field, or if maybe, I'm not sure what happened there. I thought he was the 2nd one off of pit road there, Lucas.
So it looks like both Michael Jones and Seth Hatchell got an EOL penalty. I want to say Seth Hatchell is trying to stay out of the way of these chase drivers and not interfere with their playoff implications. So I think Seth took the high road and was like, I know I'm not in the championship. Just let me get an EOL penalty and let these chase drivers battle it out.
And if that is indeed the case, that is an incredibly classy move out of the number 8 car of Seth Hatchell. But this is going to set up for one heck of a finish. Bailey Turner is going to be the control car. Looks like he's actually taken the inside. A bit of a surprise here with all the leaders that we've seen so far taking that outside lane. Eric Hutton going to restart in 2nd. Chris Samard, Adam Baker on the 2nd row in 3rd and 4th. Cody Atkins, Seth Hatchell there directly behind. And lights are out on the pace truck rather. This is about to get wild. We also saw that restart violation on the initial start of the race. Something else for these drivers to keep in mind as we get ready to go for a green-white checker, our first of 3 attempts, should we need them. Pace truck is off. Field is in control of the 24 of Bailey Turner. Green flag is in the air. Good launch there for Turner. He is clear to the lead. They are side by side for 2nd with Hutton and Samard behind.
Yeah, let's see what Bailey Turner can do with these right side tires. We've been fighting loose conditions all night long, still side by side for that 2nd position between Eric Hutton and Chris Samard. Chris Samard sends it real deep on the inside of Eric Hutton. Coming out of turn 4, Bailey Turner still has the lead.
White flag is in the air. The race is official. The 24 of Bailey Turner leads. Eric Hutton in the 88. Chris Samard in 3rd. Side by side for 4th behind. But up front, it is all the 24 car. He is through 3 and 4. It is clear sailing ahead. Bailey Turner in the 24 is going to take the win here in Iowa. In just I don't want to call it he stole one. He ran up in the top 3 all night, but able to take the win here at the end. Saw a little Tokyo Drift celebration there through turns 1 and 2. A couple of door bangs with some friends out there congratulating him. And what a win for the 24 of Bailey Turner.
Yeah, it was a really great drive all night for Bailey Turner, and being able to take those right side tires and come out on top with the win, and just a great night overall for Bailey Turner. And this is definitely going to help him gain on the points gap between him and Brody Hayes.
That will indeed tighten up this championship battle as it has hit the halfway point. You can see there the 24 of Bailey Turner burning it down in celebration. While he finishes up his celebration, let's go ahead and take a quick commercial break here. Once again, thank our great sponsors that we have in this series, and we will be back to give you your full race rundown as well as get a word with our top 3 finishers.
At Cynthia Rogers, MD Dermatology, we specialize in providing comprehensive expert care for the full spectrum of skin conditions, from complex skin diseases and skin cancer to aging concerns and aesthetic needs. With decades of combined experience in medical, surgical, and aesthetic dermatology, our team brings both deep clinical knowledge and a patient-first approach to every visit. Our practice focuses on developing personalized treatment plans tailored to each individual's skin, health, and life stage. We're located in Port St. Lucie, Florida, in the PSL Professional Center. Learn more or schedule a visit at floridaskindoctor.com.
We've been around since 1946, originated as a scrap yard and evolved into a full-on steel service center, buying and selling new steel products of light fabrication, such as cutting, shearing, bending, threading. We also run a wholesale pipe, valve, and fitting plumbing division, as well as a retail showroom outlet. And then we also are a full-on structural steel fabricator, which is the skeletal steel that you see in commercial and residential structures. We sell to a wide variety of contractors, plumbers, maintenance type personnel, underground utility companies. We sell anything from single nuts and bolts to like a typical hardware store type of feel, one fitting, to full semi-loads of pipes. We're a little deeper in our inventory, and we actually have maybe a little more specialized type of fittings and such. Stock quite a diverse inventory, so we try to keep everything here to keep you guys going.
Backed by 70 years of experience, Duncan Water Systems specializes in commercial and residential water system testing, design, installation, and maintenance. Our mission at Duncan Water Systems is to provide high-quality water solutions to every customer. We pride ourselves on being responsive, honest, and customer-oriented. Our priority is safer water for you and your family. Contact us via call, text, email, or visit us at duncanwatersystems.com.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Iowa Speedway, where we just saw another fantastic green-white checker finish here in the BTDY Florida SkinDoctor.com Racing Series. Let's go ahead and give you your full race results to see where your favorite driver finished. Coming home with the win is the 24 of Bailey Turner. Eric Hutton finishing in second, up 10 spots from where he started. Chris Samard rounds out the podium in third place. Adam Baker in fourth. Cody Atkins, great to see him come home with a solid top 5 result here this evening. Seth Hatchell comes home in sixth after leading a majority of this race. Dennis Faircloth comes home in seventh. Jake Mockey in eighth. Michael Jones in ninth. And rounding out your top 10 is Paul Hahn.
In 11th position, we have the 5 of Alan Dice. 12th, we have Todd Giles Jr. in the 14. A tough night for the 6 of Ryan Gilmore. He's going to finish in the 13th position. The 27 of Ryan Phillips finishes 14th. The 37 of Brody Hayes, who had that meatball trying to get onto pit road, will finish 15th. Jeremiah Hobbs in the 31 will finish 16th. Max Kosk will finish in the 17th position in the 63. Michael Robinson in the 29 will finish 18th. The 30 of Adrian Loya will finish 19th. And rounding out our field is Rob Liedel in the 20th position.
And that is your full race results. But let's go ahead and get a word with our race winner here this evening, Bailey Turner. Bailey, this is Daniel Lucas up here in the VSPEED booth. You got us?
Yeah, I got you guys.
Well, man, I did not think that you had a shot at that one. No offense to you, but Seth was he had set sail there. The late race caution, the 2-tire call gets you the track position that you need to go out there and get that win. What did you already kind of have it in your mind that if there was that late race caution, you were going to try the 2-tire stop, or was it just kind of a on the fly type of deal?
Yeah, I had noticed, especially after that, that super long run we had, the lefts had only worn to about 91%, and the majority of our wear was the right rear. So at that point, I just knew that, if we got a late race caution, I was joking with Eric how I was like, a caution with about 5 to go does sound kind of nice. That was after, of course, I slid through my stall and essentially just kind of gave Seth the win there. I mean, I could maintain lap times with him, but we were so even there on the long runs that it was realistically whoever was going to be out front was probably going to win that race. So kind of kicking myself for letting him by earlier in the race, but he had raced me pretty fair, so I was just trying to return the favor. And then once he got by Gemmel, I was frustrated with myself. So I was like, dang, I shouldn't have been as nice. But yeah, man, he had a great drive. I told him after the race that should have been his win if we didn't get that yellow there. So yeah, knew 2 tires was going to be the call at the end. I thought he would do the same, so I was a little shocked, but pretty awesome to get 1-2 with Eric, getting the teammate up there, especially after the race he had. He was struggling a little bit.
Yeah, so we did see you let Seth Hatchell go, like you said, but one thing we did see you also do a lot of was basically kind of send it in really hard on other drivers. Did you think other drivers would kind of do the same to you, or is that just kind of how you had to pass tonight? Just tell us a little bit more about that.
Yeah, I just felt super uncomfortable in the second lane on entry. I mean, I think our brake bias in this race was, set at 60%, and I was getting so loose on corner entry in practice that I bumped that up to 64% at the beginning of the race, and then throughout the run, eventually got that up to like 65.5. Just with how loose I was getting on corner entry, and I was really just trying to wear the right front as much as I could and keep the heat in the right front instead of the right rear. And I think it worked really well for a lot of the race. I had to compensate a little bit and gave up a little bit on the short runs, but I felt it really good on the long runs about my, especially my right rear. It seemed like, besides Seth, I really had, that pace. I think me and Seth were even, but I really had that pace to kind of keep the longevity in the right rear throughout the run over a lot of other guys. So I think we were on the right track with that. Maybe a few different driving technique tweaks here and there, and you know, we could have been up front a little closer to Seth, but you know, I think we were just realistically so even, and he, you know, had the he went a little longer than me on the pit stops, and of course, sliding through my stalls just allowed him to have too much of a gap. I couldn't really apply any pressure, so once I knew he had that lead, just kind of backed it down, paced myself, knew if we got a late race yellow, I didn't want to completely have my left sides burnt up, and yeah, the strategy worked out pretty well.
Well, really solid run tonight, and also great points night for you as well, with Brody Hayes running into some issues, able to take a pretty substantial chunk out of that points lead. So, congrats on the win. Congrats on the great points night. Before we let you go, Bailey, who do you want to thank? Any sponsors or shout outs?
Yeah, of course, Dennis for doing this paint scheme for me, Eric Hutton and Angelo and AJ and all the teammates over there. Wish we had everybody over there tonight, but it was good to have Eric up there and got him into a P2 position there at the end with the strategy call as well. And yeah, obviously you guys up there in the booth, it's fun to kind of go back and watch these races and, you know, hear your guys' takes and, you know, see things that I may have missed throughout the race. And of course, I believe it's Florida Skin Doctor and some of the other you know, league sponsors. Appreciate everybody that kind of helps put this thing together. Hopefully we can get that car count a little higher over the next couple of weeks and try to finish out that season strong and maybe make a push at the end for the championship.
Well, congrats again, Bailey. Really solid run. Nice win tonight, and we will see you next week at Michigan.
Appreciate it.
That's our race winner, Bailey Turner. Let's go ahead and bring our second place finisher, Eric Hutton, up here into the booth. Eric, this is Daniel Lucas. You got us?
Yeah, I got you.
Well, man, really solid run tonight. You were the biggest mover of the evening, up 10 spots from where you started. But it seemed like it was a quiet night for you out there overall. Just talk a little bit about your race. What do you feel like was maybe your biggest struggle throughout the evening, and how'd you get up there and get through the field?
Yeah, I felt terrible at the beginning of the race. Don't really know why. Don't feel like I changed too much, but towards the very end of the first run or the first long run, felt like I started gaining some speed and then through the pit cycle made a few spots and that second round just felt a whole lot better. And honestly, I don't really know. I didn't felt like it didn't change that much, but with some bad luck from other people, it ended up being a pretty good finish.
You know, when we were watching you during that long run, you and Alan Dice had a pretty good battle. Were y'all just kind of out there having a blast, or was it something that was kind of irritating you, just being like, we battled for long enough, just let me have the position and we could see if we could run down the drivers ahead? Or just give us a little bit of your take about that.
Yeah, it was just like frustrating for me. Not anything he was doing, but I felt like when I was behind him, I could easily pass him. But then once I got in front of him, I felt like he could easily pass me, and so I don't really know why. Again, I never felt great in this car, um, but you know, we both had a clean battle, and it was fun going back and forth.
Well, congrats again on the P2 finish tonight. Really solid run for you. Good points night. Before we let you go, who you want to thank? Any sponsors or shout outs?
Yeah, I just appreciate everybody running the league and Bailey for trying to give me some tips there and helping me out on the final restart, giving me a heads up what he was doing, where he's going. So appreciate him.
All right. Well, congrats again, and we will see you next week at Michigan.
See you. Appreciate it.
That was our second place finisher, Eric Hutton. And now let's go ahead and get a word with our third place finisher, been patiently waiting down here in the waiting room, and that is Chris Samard. Chris, this is Daniel Lucas. You got us?
Yes, I do.
Well, a good run tonight, coming home in that final podium position. Just talk us through your race a little bit. And, you know, it seemed like you ran top 5 pretty much all evening and had some really solid speed. So just tell us a little bit about your race this evening.
Chris?
Sorry, Chris, you still there? We don't got you.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, now we got you.
Sorry about that. No, I felt good about my race. I I felt like I was a fifth place car there for most of the race, but didn't really start out the way I wanted to. I hit the wall a little bit, and Bailey kind of hit me there, and I felt bad for that. But um, then after that, the after that caution after lap 20, I took 2 tires, and I felt pretty good staying up with everyone there with 2 tires, and thought that I would have had something there. I kind of fell back after a while, but all in all, it was a good race.
So we saw a bunch of VSPEED drivers up towards the front. Was there a bunch of communication between you all with where y'all are running, what y'all are doing throughout the run? Just give us a little bit of insight on like the team aspect and what the communication might be like at tracks, whether one driver's struggling or another driver's really good at.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like we pay attention to where everyone's running. We try and help if someone's running a little bit slower, and try and give pointers on how we're getting in the corner and stuff. All of our teammates are really great with that. We try and help each other as much as we can, and Seth, he was the class of the field tonight, and I feel bad that he didn't win, but yeah, we all try and help each other as much as possible, and you know, be in the playoffs. It's kind of tough, but as much as we can, anyways, and it's helped out a lot. It's helped me out a lot. So
Well,
with
really
that being said,
solid. Yes, sir. Well, really solid run tonight, Chris. And, I got to say, just on a side note here, I think this is the first time that I've actually got to interview you since we jumped on the broadcast here in BTDY. And it's very fitting that we got a sorry out of you, too. Just, that seems
oh
to be
boy.
like your moniker in Discord, is that it's always Chris saying he's sorry for something. And, just the tech gods there gave you an opportunity to say it during your interview. But really solid run tonight. Congrats on the podium finish. And before we let you go, who you want to thank, any sponsors or shout outs?
Oh, one more thing. I do feel like that me saying sorry has run its course a little bit here, but I do, you know, I do say it once in a while. So I don't know. It's just kind of a fun joke, I guess, in Discord. And, but yeah, I'd like to thank all my VSP teammates. You guys up in the booth. I love going back watching the races all the time. Um, it's fun watching them. You guys are great up in the booth, and my wife and son. And I apologize again for um, all the sponsors that I'm missing, but yeah, that's about it. So
Yes, sir. Well, congrats again on the solid finish, and we will see you next week at Michigan.
all right, have a good night, fellas.
Thank you, too. That was our third place finisher, Chris Samard. And that is going to do it for our post race as far as our interviews, our race results, and everything, Lucas. We saw a little bit of everything here this evening. How are you feeling about what we did just see here at Iowa?
Yeah, it was a great race. It was a long green flag laps once everyone got settled in, and you saw Seth Hatchell get a 3-second gap and just be able to maintain it. So it was a really good race, only having one actual race, two race cautions tonight, and just a great race overall.
It absolutely was. And next week, we are heading to Michigan International Speedway. And I am excited for this one. Michigan is a really fun track in the ARCA cars. It gets drafty, a little bit of pack racing here, plus with the setups that these admins have been making, it is going to make for a fantastic race and a great show. As you can see there, week 17 next week on the 30th. Same time, same channel, 8:30 p.m. Eastern time here for the Florida SkinDoctor.com BTDY Racing Series. But folks, that is going to do it for our coverage here this evening. And for all the admins here at BTDY, for Adam Baker, Bradley Cooper at VSPEED, our producer Lucas Lyons, camera angles courtesy of Dougie Beer. My name is Daniel Cunningham, saying thank you once again for spending your Tuesday evening with us. Thank you for the support. Appreciate all the great sponsors that we have out there that make everything go round here. And we will see you next week at Michigan for our next race here in the championship.